Hi everybody, welcome back to Sprocket Man Designs. As you can possibly tell by the light on the table, we're having a summer's day. And who'd have thought it here in England, eh? Right, so this is the start of the Dura-Ace wheel set I'm building for a mate. I will be quite honest, I did get a bit of a head start before switching the camera on. Mostly because I couldn't work out how to get the spokes into the hub flange. As it turns out, in a very Shimano way, you have to take the axle out before you can put the spokes in. Then you have to put the axle back in so you can tension it all up. I mean, why make it easy? So what I'm going to continue doing now is lacing it up. As you can see, hopefully, I've put 4 spokes in already. I'm going to put the other 4 in on this side, flip it over, get the 8 in on the opposite side, get the axle back in, and then lace it up to the rim. The reason I'm not going to lace it up before I put the axle back in, it's dead simple. I don't want the bearings to drop out. So with that in mind, let's crack on. So these are what's known as a flat bladed spoke. I don't know whether you can make out the shape of them from what I'm doing there. While the blades themselves are flat, either end is obviously round, so you can put a thread onto it and it will fit into the eyelets of the hub. I think I'm going to save a minute or 2 of my own time now, and yours, because you're sat there watching it, hopefully. I'm just going to pop the spoke nipples off. I did have a serious idiot moment yesterday. I kept looking at it and I could not work out how this was all supposed to fit together. And then I realised I was looking at it the wrong way up. What's happened, or what will happen, unlike a conventional spoke nipple that goes on that way up, so the flat sides poke through the rim, on this design of rim, the spoke nipple actually goes on the other way up. So it goes into this convenient little tool manufactured by Shimano, goes in like that, and then into the rim. And it must have taken me, I have no idea how long. I know I was getting very frustrated with it all. So in the end, fired up the dreaded laptop, called up the Shimano document concerning this wheel, and gazed at it for a while. And it was a genuine forehead slapping moment when I realised the mistake I was making. I'd just been blindsided by the fact that the spoke nipples had been put on this way up. And I've just dropped one, so I'll have to go and look for that in a minute. Right. So let's get the rest of these into position. It's a little bit fiddly. And because there is quite a nice effect on these spokes, I'm being as careful as I can be not to scratch them as they go in, because it would spoil the spoke somewhat. The other reason I've got to be careful is because there isn't a cone at top or bottom. I don't want to rattle any bearings out either, because that would be quite annoying. Come on. There we go. So that's one side in. Unlike a conventional bicycle wheel, This one, in order to keep down the rotating mass and all that malarkey, only has 16 spokes. So the spoke tension on this wheel is actually rather high, if I've read the document correctly anyway. Well, I know I've read it correctly, I spent enough time staring at it yesterday. And these are such a tight fit. And then all I've got to do is remember where I put all the bits and pieces of the axle. I can worry about that in a minute. And once this one's done, I'm going to have the fun of doing the rear wheel. And the rear wheel does have a slightly different design to the spoke layout, which you'll get to see when I start on that one. If I remember correctly, on the rear, instead of going through the flange like this on both sides, on the drive side or free hub body side, depending on how you like to term it, if you like to term it at all, because I know not everybody out there is that into cycling. Mind you, those that are that into cycling don't always know the correct terminology, so okay, last one. Okay, so now, believe it or not, even though this is a front hub, it does have what they call a drive side and a non-drive side. And you'll never believe it, but I've already forgotten which side is which. Not to worry. Okay. I do remember how this goes back together though. So, the main body of the axle is already on my Allen key. And it would help if the ends of the spokes would stay out of the way while I pop this back in. So that just slides in there like that. And then over here we've got a bunch of bits and pieces. We start off with the bearing surface itself. And the spoke head has done it, so spoke head rather, has done it to me again. When my mate asked me to do this, I said, yeah, that sounds like fun, which just goes to show that I have got a very twisted sense of humour. Okay. So I've got that side tucked home now, so now it's just a case of wind this on. Somewhere around here I've got a pair of pliers. There's just one really tight pointer in this thread that you just need those to wind it past. So the guys that say you can do this with your fingers have obviously got one hell of a grip. It's either that or one of their hobbies is climbing. And it's just a matter of tightening this down. Not super tight because you're going up against bearings, and if you do it too tight, obviously you'll damage the bearing faces, which is not a good thing to do. Let's see how that feels. Doesn't appear to be any play in there, which is always a good thing. And then there it is. Right. So the other end of the axle now goes on, basically so the quick release has something to sit into. And because it's all aluminium, you have to be very gentle making sure the threads start off straight, otherwise you'll rip them all to pieces. So I'm just making sure now that all the spoke heads are clear. Okay. So that's the one that escaped retrieved. And I'll put that in the tool ready to go. These little things here, lovely little devices. Not only do they fit the flats of the spoke nipple for different models of wheel, but they also have a little nick in it there, so as you're trying to tension the spoke, you can hold the spoke so it doesn't twist. If you just notice the dog go outside, this is a friend's dog, this is Ozzy, who came to stay with us last night. So, start there. As with a lot of rims, the holes in this have been drilled in such a way that they stick out in a particular direction. And the fun part is now going to be getting all these done up. So what I might do is turn the camera off while I do this, because I imagine it's going to take a subjective lifetime. But once I've got them all on, fire up again so you can see me begin truing it. See you in a minute. Okay, so as you can see, I've managed to get the spokes laced up. I will be absolutely honest, that was a lot harder than I anticipated it being. Because the spoke nipples sit inside this deep carbon fibre rim, but the bracing side for the brake surface here is about level with that black carbon edge. You're basically threading it blind. You cannot see what you're doing, and in all honesty, I haven't got the patience for that kind of thing. I like to get spokes in and get on with it. So now I know what I have to do and how to do it. At least doing the rear wheel should be a fraction easier. Of course, I've now said that, so we all know what's going to go wrong next. The other note to self on the subject of these wheels is the next time somebody asks me to build them, then give them a price, don't quote them first. But you live and learn. And this is quite a steep learning curve. What I'm going to do now, again, because you will get terminally bored watching me mumble and mutter as I try and get the spoke nipple in, spoke key in. I've already got the spoke nipples in. I'm going to wind the tension onto it until I've got it nice and even. Then I'll probably show you me going, look, I've got it even. From that point it will just be a matter of getting the tensions right and making sure it's running straight. To that end, wish me luck. See you in a bit. Okay, so after quite a long time spent gently tensioning all the individual spokes up, we've now got it, or I've now got it, to a point where I'm happy with it. The bearings are running smoothly, and even better than that, it's dead straight and it doesn't bob up and down. So the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that earlier in this video, when I reassembled the axle into the hub, I did actually forget to put a dust cover on. I've since put that right because I realised it would affect the spacing on the axle. So with that in mind, I took it apart, rebuilt it, and then did the tensioning. So now it runs perfectly true, and I hope my mate who is after this particular pair of wheels is happy. The next one to go up is a rear wheel. The difference between the two, other than one going in the back obviously, is the front wheel uses 16 spokes and the rear wheel, as a bit of an oddball, uses 21. The way that works, if I can show you the hub there you go. So you have 7 on the non-drive side, 14 on the drive. The other difference between this hub and the front, on the front you have to remove the axle to thread the spokes in. You have to do that on the non-drive side on this one, but on the drive side the spokes go in to what I call a pineapple sort of flange. So they actually, on each one you have 2 holes. Police and ambulance going past. Hope nobody's too badly injured. So one spoke will go in that way and out, the other one comes in the opposite way and through. All I've got to do from that point is work out how the spokes next to it go in and whether I'm supposed to cross them over. I think I'll go and look that up. But that is for another day. Simply because, as I say, I've got to go and look up how I do all that first. Then the final part of building the rear wheel will be to fit the cassette. So you've got your drivetrain on there. I also need to make sure that the cassette I've got, or that my mate's given me to put on here, doesn't need a spacer to go on first, because I don't know whether this is an 11-speed freehub body or a 10. I have a feeling it's supposed to be an 11, but we will set fire to that bridge when we get to it. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching another episode of Messing About with a Wheel. Suffice to say, if you're really unlucky, you're going to get to see it all again with the rear. Take it easy, guys. I will see you soon.